Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Soraya. So today's video is all about how to blend with a kitchen sponge. So I'm using my sponge as I have been in the last few videos because it is so versatile. And this time I show you exactly how I blend the colors so that it goes seamlessly from one color to the next. So keep watching. So I wanted to show you the canvas before I start my painting. It's a 20 by 40 inch, and I added texture. So all I did was get some paint, some white paint, put it on with a spatula, a palette, not a spatula, a palette knife, and let it dry, and then I painted the whole thing white. So that's what I'm starting off with. So to begin with, these are the colors I'm going to use. That's Liquitex Titanium White and Amsterdam Light Blue, Sky Blue Light. And then there's Pebeo Studio Payne's Gray and Liquitex Blue Gray. And that's the amount I'm going to be using. This is a dry sponge. It's used, you can tell I've used it. It's dry and the canvas is dry. So let's start. Okay, so I added some of the Payne's Gray, the light blue, and the white. And there's a little bit too much of the light blue, but let's see what happens. Just gonna start adding. I always kind of like to have the sky dark at the top here. And I'm just using a very light touch. I went back in just with the Payne's Gray. I'm gonna go back over, very light touch. I haven't added anything to it. Nothing to the sponge. It's the same as it was before. And just in a circular motion, every which way. And I already like the way that's looking. Okay, now I went back to the white, the titanium white, same sponge. And I'm going to go over some of this. Very light touch. Now I've turned the sponge around and I'm just using the white. Only white. Adding a little bit up here. And I like that light blue, the sky blue light. And now I went back to the light blue. Don't really like the way that white blended in there. That's better. I like that. These lines kind of remind me of flashes of lightning. That might be something interesting. I don't know. Okay, I'm turning it back around, the sponge around, and going over this part here. Just so that there's no hard edges anywhere. Just I want things to blend. There's plenty enough paint on there. It's pretty dark. Now I'm laying it flat. You see that? It's completely flat and pressing down. And again, not hard. There's a line here, which I will fix. So I went back to the light blue and I'm gonna go over that line so that there's not such a definite change, I guess. I just want it to be more subtle. Once again, back to the white, and I'm gonna go here. If you notice, I have my painting, or the canvas, I should say, on the floor because the easel was is pretty high up and I just couldn't reach it. I'm just too short for that. So that's why you're kind of hearing it moving along around on the floor. But I do move it up once I start adding more detail. I'm gonna move you over so you can see the progression here. That didn't take very long, and I'm liking the way that's looking. Again, I put the Payne's Gray, and I'm going to go here. I kind of like to have a balance, and I'm going to go over that again, these edges. To smooth them out. I have the sky blue light, and I'm going to try and soften those edges. Again, I'm not pressing hard, and I haven't added anything but the paint straight out of the tube. I'm going to go back here and go over this part, make it really dark. I haven't added the blue-gray yet, so I'm going to do that. It's not very much. You can see it over here, right there. Definitely has a gray tinge to it. I don't want to put too much in it. I think that's all I'm going to do with that color. So I went on to a new sponge, and this is just slightly, very damp, just slightly damp, just the slightest amount of damp. I'm just going to go back over here. And work it in. Sometimes it is just a little easier to blend when either the paint has a little bit of water on it or you have your sponge that is slightly damp. This is going back in with the Payne's Gray and a very light touch. This is the old sponge. Okay, the one I started off with, the old sponge. The one I started off with. I'm just using this edge here. This part here, right? I'm not using the bottom part. I'm not laying it flat. I'm just using the edge. Let's lift it up. So I went back to the second sponge, a little bit of white and a little bit of the sky blue. I like experimenting by adding texture, just gives it a different dimension new. Okay, so here I squeezed and pushed harder, and you get more definitive lines. Sometimes you want that. Now, my idea is to bring it down, this whole way down, and then have something interesting at the bottom. So I still have a ways to go. Now the painting has a lot of dark here and here. I really want to balance it out with some more dark here. Make sure you go kind of all directions. I'm going to go back in with the white, only white on here. And soften those edges up. Very light touch. And of course the sponge will pick up on some of that color. I turn this sponge around and I just put the white. I'm laying it flat. I'm laying the sponge flat here and just kind of scrubbing. It's be harder to see since, you know, there's just a little bit of color. It's mostly the white. Okay, I've put my canvas on my easel now, and I've gone back to my original sponge and I added the Payne's Gray and the light blue, the sky blue light. And just gonna do this along here. I'm gonna go back in here with some of the white. So I've switched out to the second sponge and just gonna add the white. This is the same one I was using. I didn't add anything. Just going in to darken it up a little bit. Okay, so really so far, with the exception of the blue-gray, I've only added 3 colors: the white, the titanium white, the sky blue light, and the Payne's Gray. And afterwards, this is kind of just a first go at it, let's say. I'm gonna maybe look at it and maybe I'll want some yellow or some orange or some red or something to give it a little bit of interest. But when I say those colors, it's not going to be like a huge amount of it. Maybe I'll just put touches of it here or there, just to give it more interest. You always have to have a lot of interest. So I went back to the white and the light blue, and I'm just gonna do this here. This texture is really making it look very interesting. So again, just the sky blue light. And I need to figure out a horizon, but I decided this dark Payne's Gray has to come down a little bit further, just about there, I think. I'm mixing colors right on the canvas. I added the color and I'm squeezing, and I'm just gonna kind of go. I will add a bit more of this color, the Payne's Gray. I kind of had an idea. Now I'm not sure. I don't know. Let me just kind of cover the whole thing with dark here. It almost balances out what's happening at the top. So I think I'm going to be doing this bottom part as water. So I'm just kind of putting it on any which way right now, the Payne's Gray. Now I'm going to go back in with the sky blue light. So I decided I'm going to be adding something here. So I'm going to be using Prism Violet and Burnt Sienna and Liquitex Burnt Umber. Let's see what happens. I do have my paper towel ready to go, and I'm thinking it's going to be around here. Just some kind of a rock or something. I don't like this burnt sienna. Okay. Don't be scared when that happens. We can fix it. So I'm going to add the burnt umber and titanium white and just do something here. That's better. That burnt sienna was not looking good at all. I will fix it up. This is basically just the shape. I'm just gonna trying and making it look like a big rock. So I'm gonna go back in with the titanium white and kind of go around it. I really should let it dry. I want it to look like an island, I guess. Yep, I have to let it dry. I'm just picking up too much color. As you can tell, I'm an impatient person. I couldn't let it dry and just wanting to fix it up. I think I might be making it worse. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep playing with it. I don't know if that looks like a rock or not. Oh boy. I think I'm gonna put a tree. So I kind of want something that where a tree would be. Okay, as that's drying, I'm just going to get rid of this. I don't want it to look like it's sinking. I want it to, the water or whatever is going to be behind there to just be far away. I'm going to bring some of the white down. I'm going to add a little bit of the Prism Violet. It's just on the same sponge I've been using, just to give a little bit more color. And I've just put in a little bit of the light blue, sky blue, just until this part kind of dries a little bit. And because I put it down here, I will put some at the top as well in the sky, just because it's more interesting when the color is balanced that way. What I really like to do is not have a very definitive line here, a horizon line. I like the sky kind of to blend in with that horizon line. So I'm gonna just take the same sponge that I've been using to do the bottom. I'm gonna add here. So you can't tell where it begins and where it ends. Then I will probably add a little bit of, I'm picking up too much of that color. Still not dry, that's okay. Now I do find that it's getting pretty dry. So here's a brush, and I'm gonna add, this was in water, that much. It's not soaked or anything, it was just a tiny bit. And look at that, how different that looks. Okay. Just helps to blend a little bit more. And kind of stop where the horizon would be. So you kind of see the line there, but not so defined. And I'm gonna go with the other sponge, turn it around, and add some white. Just adding the light blue on that old sponge, the original sponge. So I'm doing that so that it looks like this rock has been there a while. I'm gonna go in with the titanium white. The problem is it still hasn't dried, but I'm gonna try. And then maybe go over some of that. Whoa, that's a little bit much, but that's okay. We can work with that. So I do keep working at it until I see something that I really like. So oftentimes you're going to go back and forth going over things until it becomes or gets created in the way that I like. I like the blue peeking out and that. I'm gonna have to add some more of the purple up on top, and I'm gonna do that now. I won't even record it. So you can see that I did add some of the purple, but I do find that some of the edges are kind of raggedy. I'm gonna go back and get a little bit of the same paint and blend this in, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So normally I would say get a little bit of water, which you still can, not a problem, but I do like using Liquitex. This is ultra matte medium. Usually I just use matte medium, not ultra matte, but this is what they had and I finally picked it up. I got it. So that's what I'm going to use. And it just helps to blend and make the paint a little bit more translucent. So I'm going to use this with a bit of the Payne's Gray. Here's my palette. That's the Payne's Gray. That's the Ultra Matte Medium. And the other colors that I've used, the sponges as well. I take a little bit of the Payne's Gray and dip it here. That's it. Okay. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go up here and go in with the color. Just added a little bit more of the matte medium and a little bit of white. I'm finding it's way too much, a bit too much paint. I'm just going to go in with a little bit of light blue and just kind of go around the edges. And I'm going to go around and do that to all of these so that it softens them up. A little bit of paint and a little bit of the matte medium. Okay, so I went around and you can see that it's blending now. My fingers, that's from holding the sponge. So, but you can see that, you know, it's blending in and there's no scraggly ends to it. It's just kind of all blending in. And that's what I like to have in my paintings, things kind of going from one to the next. So I'm not happy with this. And I don't know. Keep working on this. So I dip my sponge in the Payne's Gray, and then this white is the Ultra Matte Medium. So I'm just gonna go like this. And you don't have to add more paint, you can just add more matte medium to help blend. Maybe it'll be nice once I put a tree in there. I haven't done a tree in a long time. Wish me luck. Okay, I'm talking away. I thought I was recording. I added this and then added these as well. Sorry about that. I thought I was okay. So I'm gonna let it go at that for today. Take a break and I'll see you back in 1 second. Okay, so it's the next day. It has completely dried and I do like the way it's looking, but I think I'm gonna do something with the water here first. I wanna give it a little bit more detail. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of the titanium white and I put it on this kind of 1-inch brush and I put a little bit of the matte medium. So I'm just gonna kind of make little waves When I say a touch, it really is, you know, touching the brush, the tip of the brush into the water. You're not wanting to put a lot. You see, it just gives it more interest. A little bit more paint. I haven't dipped the brush in the water at all this time. I did before. Just let me continue with the amount that's there. Okay, now I can see already it's drying up. I'm gonna tip it and I'll show you how I dip it. That's it. See, that's not a lot of water, just a tiny bit. That's even too much. It's already looking like it's gonna drip there. So I'm gonna take off some of that water. That's better. The slightest amount of water. Okay, I think it's time. I'm gonna add a tree, and I'm thinking that it's gonna be like a jack pine or something like that. Just gonna. This is burnt umber. Now to clean up these edges, I just dipped this clean brush in a bit of water and just taking it down and cleaning up those parts that I don't want. I'm gonna make this a little bit wider here. Okay, I'm finding that it's just too straight. I'm just gonna remove it. That's just a bit of water. This is the next day, of course, and things underneath these clouds and everything have dried, so it'll be fine. Okay, I'm gonna start that again. Decided I'm gonna make it skinnier than I thought. All right, I want it to look a little bit crooked. So I have this brush, it's angled, and I put a little bit of green paint on one side only. Now, I am nervous about this because I do not paint trees very often. So I don't know, let's just see what happens. I just dipped this in a little bit of water and just trying to refine these branches. So for the branches I used the Pebeo Studio Opaque Sap Green, and now for the highlights I'm going to use Liquitex Light Olive Green. Okay, now that I've got that green, I think I'm going to add a little bit of green around here. I'm finding this a bit too thick here, so I just dip this in water and kind of erasing. I did want to add a little bit of the purple here, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little bit of ultramarine violet. That is Amsterdam. Yeah, I'm going to make this tree a little bit unusual, I guess. Add a little bit of purple in here. Why not? It's not supposed to be really real. So just going to add a little bit of that color. I think it looks good. Okay, so what I'm finding is this tree is just way too small for how big the canvas is. It should have gone up to about here. So I'm gonna try and extend it till about here. I like the way it looks and I like the rock, but it's too short. It just doesn't work for me. I think it would be better to come all the way up here, so I'm gonna try. It's just a shame I did that because it really would look so much better extended, but there you go. I should have realized when I'm doing this, I'm just gonna have to make these bigger. Let's try this again. Okay, so I've got this. Such a shame that I ended up having to extend it and not think of it beforehand. That really is something that's important. When you have a canvas of a certain size, you really need to fill in that canvas so that it makes sense. That itty bitty tree on its own wasn't going to cut it. So that's why I took the time to extend it. I'm just trying to erase. It's just plain water on this brush, just so that I have some space. Okay, so I've cleaned it up and I'm just going to highlight. And then I'm going to go back and do that to all the branches. And then add some purple. Okay, now I'm going to add the Prism Violet back to some of the branches. I'm going to mix it up with a bit of white to really lighten it up. I'm just going to add a little bit more of these kind of splashes here. Let this rock really sink in. And I just have the titanium white. The brush was wet because it was sitting in my bucket of water. Okay, I'm liking this tree so far. I'm going to add the Pyrrole Red with a bit of white to make pink, just to add a little bit of that color. Maybe even on the rock. Maybe a little bit on here, just having an interesting color. This isn't supposed to be real, so why not play and have some fun with the colors? I think it looks good. One last color I think I'm going to use is turquoise green, just for a little bit of highlight. Okay, so as a recap, I used the Liquitex Ultra Matte Medium and with some of the colors. I mixed that up. And then at the end, I used this turquoise green Amsterdam, Liquitex Pyrrole Red with a bit of white, and Pebeo Studio Opaque Sap Green, Liquitex Light Olive Green, Liquitex Titanium White, Liquitex Burnt Umber, Amsterdam Sky Blue Light, Pebeo Studio Paynes Gray, Liquitex Blue Gray, Liquitex Prism Violet, and Amsterdam Ultramarine Violet, and Pebeo Studio Burnt Sienna. I use these brushes and a couple of palette knives, which is just plastic, and 3 sponges, which I've already cleaned. Okay, so here is the final painting. I am very, very happy with it. Very different for me to paint a tree, but I think it looks great. I think I'm gonna call it Lone Pine. I don't know, that's not very creative. Let me know what you think it should be called. And I did change up this rock area just a little bit. I added more of that blue-gray there with a bit of highlights. So this is it. I've got up-close images coming up, and click on the link to see more of my paintings and tutorials.